Hello viewers, so welcome to my channel. I'm Hasham Ali Khan. So now I'm going to start unit number 2 in the subject business economics. In the last video I have completed unit number 1 where I have explained you the meaning of the term business economics, its nature, its characteristics, importance, and micro and macro economics, the objectives of difference of these micro and macro, what are the differences between micro and macroeconomics, and the law of diminishing marginal utility, law of equi-marginal utility. These are the topics I've already covered up in the last video. Now in this unit number 2, second unit, I'm going to start the topic demand analysis. And very important, every examination they will ask the question from this demand analysis. So watch the video till the end to get the complete command on this topic of demand analysis. So before explaining the contents of this unit, take a screenshot of all the points which I have given on the board so that you can keep a permanent copy, and before examination, if you just review, then definitely you can write excellently in examination. Come on, the topic demand analysis. So what are the different concepts we are going to discuss in this video? First of all, meaning, functions and factors influencing demand. I am going to explain you the meaning, what are the factors which affects demand, and what are the determinants of demand, demand function. Then types of demand, what are the different types of demand like price demand or income demand. Then individual and market demand curves. Demand can be classified into individual demand and market demand. Then extension and contraction of demand. When the demand increases, it is called extension of demand. When the demand decreases, contraction of demand. The next one, law of demand and its exceptions. So I'm going to explain you what is the law of demand and what are the exceptions to this law of demand. Then concept of elasticity of demand. What is the meaning of elasticity? And what are the different types of elasticity of demand like price elasticity, income elasticity, cross elasticity of demand. Then measurement of elasticity of demand. Then lastly, importance of price elasticity, income elasticity, and cross elasticity of demand. These are the topics we are going to cover up in this unit number 2. That's it. First of all, the question which may be asked in examination is define demand and explain the determinants of demand. Very frequently this first question will be asked. So first I am going to explain you about the concept, meaning, definition of the term demand. In common parlance, demand means a desire. When a person wants, when a person desires something, it is called demand. So desire is equal to demand in our normal language, but in economics. In economics, demand means a desire to buy a commodity, to purchase a commodity which is backed by ability to pay. So when a desire is backed by ability to pay, then that desire will become a demand from economics point of view. So here I have explained from economic point of view, demand for a commodity refers to the purchase, desire to purchase the commodity and the ability to pay for it. The person must have the ability to pay. For simple example, my desire is to purchase a car. It's my desire. So automatically that desire will not become a demand. I must have the ability to buy the car. So if I'm having a desire and also if I'm having ability to buy the car, then my desire will be called a demand. That is the meaning, definition. Now the demand for a commodity is essentially consumers' attitude and reaction towards the product or commodity. What is the attitude? What is the reaction of a person towards a commodity? Whether the person is liking to purchase that commodity or not. So what is the reaction of a person, attitude of a person towards a commodity? Then demand can be defined as the amount of commodity. One more definition meaning is there. Demand can be defined as the amount of the commodity which an individual consumer will purchase or is willing to purchase at a given price and for a given period of time. In a particular given period of time, at a particular price, when a person is purchasing or willing to purchase a commodity. A person is having money in his pocket, in his account. Now he wants to buy some goods. He is having some intention to buy the goods. That is called demand. So he is having a desire to buy the commodity and he is having the money to buy the commodity at a given price, at a given point of time. Then that desire is called a demand. When the demand arises from an individual consumer, it is called individual demand. So we broadly divide the demand into individual demand and market demand. Market demand is also called aggregate demand. When the demand arises by an individual, it is called individual demand. When the total demand arising in the market, a market will have so many consumers, so many households, so every consumer is having a demand. So aggregate of all the demand of the participant in the market is called market demand. Now, determinants. So I have explained you the meaning of the term demand. Simply, demand means a desire to buy a commodity or a product and he is having the ability to pay the price. In other words, demand means a desire to purchase a commodity or willing to purchase a commodity at a given price during a given period of time. That is called demand. Now, determinants of demand. So what are the factors which influence the demand, which affects the demand? So those are called determinants. Determinant means the factors which influence the demand, the factors which affects the demand. First one is price of the commodity. There is a relationship between price and demand. The demand normally depends on price. Suppose if the price of a commodity increases, naturally the demand will decrease. When the price of a commodity decreases, the demand will increase. So normally we can say the demand, the main factor which affects the demand is its price. Higher the price, lower is the demand. Lower is the price, higher is the demand. So inverse relationship between price and demand. Secondly, consumer's income. The consumer's income also affects demand. So consumer income is one of the factors which affects demand. When the consumer's income increases, the demand will also increase. Just example, the standard of living of the people increases. The income of the people increases. The demand for cars will increase. Now we divide the commodities into two types, superior and inferior. Superior goods just like car, inferior goods just like bike, or superior goods are bike, inferior goods are bicycle. So when the income of the people increases, they will go for superior product, superior commodities. So when the income of the consumer increases, the demand for superior goods will increase and the demand for inferior goods will decrease. Conversely, if the income of the people decreases, the demand for inferior goods will increase and the demand for superior goods will decrease. So we can conclude the consumer income is also one of the factors which affects the demand. Next comes consumer's taste, habit and preferences. See here, the nature of human being will differ. Time to time the taste, habits, preferences of the people will change. As the people's habits changes, preferences changes, the demand will also change. So demand will depend on the taste, habits or fashions of the people. Then prices of related goods. The prices of related goods. First of all, you must know what are related goods. Related goods are those goods where the price of one commodity change in the price of one commodity will lead to change in the demand for another commodity. Two commodities are there, A and B. If there is a change in the price of A commodity, there is a change in the demand for B commodity, then we can say A and B are related goods. A and B are related goods. So demand, when the price of A is increasing, the demand for B is also increasing, right? These are called related. So related goods can be divided into substitute and complementary goods. Substitute means we can either use this or that, not both. Example, tea or coffee. The people may consume tea or the people may consume coffee. So tea and coffee are called substitute. A person who is consuming tea, he will not consume coffee. A person who is consuming coffee, he will not consume tea. So anyone, these are called substitute. Different brands of cars are there, like Hyundai car and Maruti car. Both are substitute. A person will purchase either Hyundai car or Maruti car, any one of the car. They are called substitute. Suppose if the price of Maruti car increases, the demand for Hyundai will increase. Because the consumers who are willing to purchase Maruti, they will switch over to Hyundai. Because they will think that Maruti prices have increased. Why to purchase Maruti? We'll purchase Hyundai. Similarly, if the price of Hyundai car increases, the demand for Maruti car will also increase. Both are substitutes, related goods. Complementary goods. The complementary goods are dependent. That means the price of one commodity depends on the demand of the other. Example, car and petrol. Car and petrol. For example, if the price of the petrol increased, the demand for the cars will decrease. So here petrol and car are related goods and they are called complementary. Because if we have the petrol, we don't have the car, then what is the use of petrol? If we have the car but we don't have the petrol, what is the use of car? We both require simultaneously. These are called complementary goods. So both substitutes and complementary goods are called related goods. So if there is a change in the price of any one of the related goods, the demand for other related goods will also change. If there is change in price of petrol, there is a change in the demand for cars. If there is a change in the price of Maruti car, there is a change in the demand for Hyundai car. Like that. Next one is consumer expectation. The consumers will expect about the prices, about the incomes. For example, if the consumer expects that in future the prices of commodity are going to increase, so what the consumer will do? He will purchase right now. The demand will increase. Example, the price of gold. The consumer will think that the price of gold is going to increase in the next 6 months. So what the consumer will do? Immediately they will purchase the gold. They will think that right now the price of gold is rupees X. After 6 months it is becoming 2X. So immediately the demand will increase for gold because expectation of the consumer. Last one, advertisement. Nowadays the demand mostly depends on advertisement also. More advertisement, more demand, less advertisement, less demand. So advertisement is also one of the factor which affects the demand. So I have explained you about the determinants of demand. After listening this video, definitely you can be able to write in examination about the meaning of the term demand and the determinants of demand. Now the next topic is demand function. In examination, question may be asked, explain the demand function. Actually, demand function shows the mathematical relationship between the quantity demanded of a commodity and the factors of production, factors of demand. So on one side we take the demand, on the other side we take function of all the factors of determinants of demand. Determinants of demand. So demand function, a demand function is a mathematical relationship between the quantity demanded for a product, commodity, and its determinant. So quantity demanded of a commodity and the determinant, a mathematical relationship we will make. The quantity demanded depends on the determinants of demand. Now, it can be expressed as Q is equal to F into demand determinants. F stands for function. So Q stands for quantity demanded. The quantity demanded is a function of determinants, demand determinants. In bracket, demand determinants. Now, types of demand function, two types of demand function, individual demand function and market demand function, aggregate demand function. First, we'll discuss about individual demand function. So, it is a mathematical relationship between the demand by an individual consumer. An individual consumer, what is the demand for an individual consumer? And the determinants of individual demand. Example, a single person wants to buy a car. He is having a demand of buying a car. So what are the factors which affects the demand of car? So when the demand is arising from an individual consumer, it is called individual demand. Then mathematically it can be expressed as Qx is equal to function of Px, I, P1, P2, P3 up to Pn, then T, A, EP, EI, U. All these are the determinants of demand. You have to remember this function. So Qx is equal to function of Px, I, P1, P2, P3 up to Pn, T, A, EP, EI, U. Now what does this symbol means? I am explaining here. Where Qx is equal to quantity demanded for product X. Commodity name is X. The name of the commodity is X. So what is the quantity demanded for commodity X? That is Qx is equal to Px. Px का मतलब price of commodity X. The first factor which affects the demand is the price. The demand of X depends on price of X. Then I is equal to consumer's income. The consumer income is the second factor which affects the demand. Third, P1, P2, P3 up to Pn, the prices of related goods. There are so many related goods. Like substitutes and complementary goods. The prices of all substitutes and complementary. T stands for consumers' tastes and preferences. Then A stands for advertisement. EP stands for consumers' expectation about the prices in future. Consumers' expectation about the prices in future. What the consumer expects. Whether the prices are going to increase or whether the prices are going to decrease. Then EI, consumers' expectation about the future income. About the future income, what the consumer is expecting, that his future income is going to increase or decrease. And lastly, U, other determinants. Because we don't have the finite number of determinants. We have so many infinite factors which affects the demand. So other factors we denote it as U, other determinants. This is the individual demand function. Now market or aggregate demand function. So what is the total market demand? It is a functional relationship between market demand for a commodity and the determinants of market demand. Here it is individual and there it is market. It is a combine. Individual means only a single person. Market means a group of all individuals and households will make a market. The market demand function shows the mathematical relationship between quantity demanded in the market and the determinants which affects the demand in the market. Determinants which affects the demand in the market. So mathematically it is expressed as Qx is equal to function of Px, I, P1, P2, P3 up to Pn, T, A, EP, EI, P, D, U. P, D, U. So what this symbol denotes, Qx is equal to quantity demanded for commodity X. As usual, here also we have seen the quantity demanded for commodity X. Name of the commodity is X. Px is equal to price of the commodity X. Same thing what we have seen in individual demand function. I is equal to consumers, price of consumers income. P1, P2 up to Pn, price of related goods. T, consumer taste and preference. A, advertisement. EP, consumers expectation about future prices. EI, consumers expectation about future income. Then P is equal to population or market size, and D is equal to distribution of consumers in the market according to income, age, gender, etc. U is equal to other determinants. So these are all the factors or determinants of demand. The quantity demanded depends on all these factors, function of all the factors. Now the question arises, what are the differences between individual demand and market demand function? Slight difference. All the factors are same except two factors. Those two factors are added, so it will become market demand function. Those two factors are not there in individual demand function. What are the two factors? First one is population or market size. P and D, these two determinants are there in the market, and P and D are not there in individual demand function. The P stands for population or the market size. If the market size is more, demand of the market will also be more. If the market size is small, the demand is also small. Secondly, D, distribution of consumers according to their age, according to their gender, according to their income. We divide the market according to different criteria like income, age, gender, etc. So this classification of the population is required in case of market demand function. This D and P and D are not there in individual demand. So lastly, comparison of individual demand function and market demand function. So I have explained you here. Both the demand functions are same except two factors which are there in the market demand function, and those two factors are not there in individual demand function. The two factors are P and D. Population, market size, P, that is there in market. And the next one is D, distribution of the market size according to income of the consumers, then age of the consumers and gender of the consumers. We are classifying. That's it. So in this video I have explained you about the meaning of the demand, meaning of the term demand, and what are the determinants of demand, and what is demand function, individual demand function and market demand function. Inshallah, we'll continue the next topic in this unit in the next video.